Right everyone, I was going to mix things up a little bit on today's video, given that we're still in the midst of an international break. This time last week we took a look at the future of European club competition and how Celtic would be affected by that. So I was thinking we could do something like that today, maybe slightly different. But we're not doing that because it turns out there's actually been a fair bit of news and things that have happened over the last 24 hours. So we can get our teeth stuck into all of that and we'll just do a bit of a roundup. There's also the fact that Scotland are playing tonight against Spain at Hampden, and I would quite like to get to the pub nice and early and have a few drinks before it. So yeah, that might be a factor too. Right, so we'll do a bit of a roundup today. We're going to start with the SWPL match that took place last night. It was between Celtic and Rangers. Rangers were the home team at Broadwood, and it finished 1-1. Real late drama in that game with friend of 67 Hail Hail, Caitlin Hayes, coming up with a big goal late on in that match. 99th minute equaliser. I saw most of the second half. I think it's fair to say Celtic deserved something from the match, certainly based on the way we played in that second half. So it was great to see that late goal going in and all the joy that goes with that. I mean, 99 minutes is, even by Ange Postecoglou's team standards, that would be very, very late in the day. So great stuff there. The result was a decent one for Celtic, I think, all things considered. It does mean that we're kind of up against it a wee bit in our battle with Glasgow City for the league title, but a second place finish is enough for UEFA Champions League qualification next season. The first round we would go into if we finish second, so that's fine. The real talking point though after the game, and pretty sadly I would say, is what happened right after full time. Really kind of shocking scenes with Rangers assistant manager Craig McPherson. I've got appearing to aim a headbutt. I'm going to take the appearing out there. He very clearly headbutted the back of Celtic manager Fran Alonso's head, and yeah, I'm not really going to say anything that nobody else has said. I mean, I thought it was pretty disappointing to see that kind of behaviour. Really bizarre stuff from the Rangers man, who apparently also called Alonso a little rat, which isn't ideal. It was McPherson's birthday yesterday, as Rangers posted on Twitter earlier in the day. You know, most people celebrate their birthday with calling the caterpillar. But I thought Fran Alonso carried himself really well, considering what had just happened. Really kind of unsavoury scenes there. And it makes you proud to support Celtic when we have people like that working at the club. Just generally on the match and the spectacle, I thought it was really good. It's probably the first real kind of Celtic women's match I've properly watched. I've maybe seen bits of other games. Please don't take offence to this, BBC Alaba. I think it's Alaba, David Alaba, might be Alba. But much better when it's on Sky Sports. Just felt the coverage was much better. I was able to kind of sit back and enjoy it. I guess they've just got a bigger budget and they've got the audience as well. It was on, I don't know what it's called now, but the main Sky Sports channel last night, which was great. It got good coverage on Sky Sports News as well. I think it was like third or fourth in their kind of 10 o'clock headlines, which I thought was great. So good, mainly all round, apart from a couple of things. Already spoken about one of them, artificial surface as well. I didn't think was great. It'd be amazing if we could get those kind of games on grass in both the women's and the men's game. But generally, good stuff. Now, yesterday, if we turn to the men's team, we got news of another addition to the Celtic scouting department. You may remember, probably about 3 weeks or so ago, we spoke about the appointment of Joe Dudgeon as lead first team scout. That story was broken by Football Scotland at the time, and they were at it again yesterday, breaking the news of the addition of former Southampton scout Kevin Hamill to Mark Lawwell's scouting team at Celtic. We don't know too much about Hamill. He doesn't seem to have a working LinkedIn page. There was one that was giving me hints of Hamill, but didn't seem to have been updated too recently. But what we do know is that he was at Southampton. He covered the Scottish market for them, meaning that he would have been involved in the signings of the likes of Virgil van Dijk, Stuart Armstrong, Victor Wanyama, and more. We've had so many players going to Southampton over the years, even players who didn't go directly from Celtic, like Artur Boruc, that he apparently had a hand in. We don't know too much else about Hamill, as I say, but the report describes it as a bit of a coup to have brought him to the club. So it's yet more good news, yet more evidence of Celtic getting their ducks in a row ahead of what is going to be a pretty busy summer. I would say certainly we're hoping for a big summer. The money is there. We don't think we've really touched on this on the channel, but we are likely to announce our biggest ever yearly figures at some stage soon. There should be more Champions League money, guaranteed Champions League money coming into the club in a matter of months if we get over the line or smash through the line and win the league. And who knows what else is going to happen. Ange is going to keep wanting to push the team forward, and it's going to be interesting to see what we can do this summer in the transfer window to really take that next step, and getting people like Hamo and Dudgeon and obviously Lol in as well, Mark that is, it seems to be good news. So again, all good. Now, one thing I wanted to talk to you about was an interview Harry Kewell has done recently. It's in two parts with Graham Hunter on his The Big Interview podcast. Now, Graham Hunter, you may like him, you may not like him. He's kind of a divisive figure the way he goes on sometimes. But the interview, well, part two of it, which is the only bit I've listened to, is very interesting. It's about Kewell at Celtic, insight on working for Ange or under Ange, working with the likes of Dyson Maeda and Jota and Liel Abada. And some really good stuff in there about how Celtic prepare during the week. I would urge you to give it a listen. If I remember, I'll link it below in the description. But there were a few good kind of bits and bobs in there. Dyson Maeda was a big factor in the interview, I think, because recently he'd made some really positive comments about Kewell, and Kewell saying, he doesn't really take compliments too well. He was blushing a little bit, or so he said. It's hard to tell on a podcast. But he was saying that Maeda is a great listener, and that is one of his main strengths. So that's good. Kewell spoke about the wingers having him to answer to post-match if they didn't take on their fullbacks during matches, which I thought was quite interesting as well. He gave an answer as well about explaining how to strike a ball. And I'm so ignorant to this kind of stuff, like coaches. I always kind of think, what difference does it really make having a coach in there? Of course, the manager's big because he takes everything on, all the responsibility, press conferences, picks the team, man management and all of that kind of stuff. What does a coach actually do other than put cones out? But Kewell kind of explains it a bit, and it's sometimes some of the things you would just take for granted, like how to strike a ball to have the maximum chance of scoring. And it seems like Kewell's very good at breaking that down. He also spoke more generally and quite interestingly, I think, about the pressurised environment at Celtic. Now, I think we're all aware that training at Lennoxtown is incredibly intense. They're not just going through the motions, but when you actually hear Kewell talking about it, it's quite interesting. He says he's putting pressure on players during training to reach their maximum level every single session, and just putting pressure on him and all the other coaches to deliver the best sessions. Remember, we spoke to Ante Milicic, who worked with Ange with the Socceroos, and he said, Ange told me this one, don't waste a training session, never waste a training session. We know what he wants from his players. He wants full commitment. He wants you to better yourself every single day, to go out of your comfort zone. Is it the same with a coach?
Very much so. Out of your comfort zone. You cannot waste a drill at training. We've got to achieve the outcomes that he sets out for his team and his style. And it's the best thing about working for Ange is that everything's so clear, and he creates an environment where you just don't want to let him down or the team or the organisation.
So there's always that pressure from Ange to his coaches as well. He might be 10, 15, 20 yards away during the session, allowing them to get on with it, but he's always watching, so there's that pressure there. And, you know, in Kewell's words, that gears the team up for the weekend and the pressure of being a Celtic player and having to win every single match. You know, Kewell said it's a really pressurised environment, but that it's like pressure that you can thrive under, if that makes sense. I think there's two kind of pressures. There might be more kinds of pressures, but it seems like the pressure at Celtic is one that you can really thrive under, and I think that's why the team seems to thrive under that at the weekend, because they're used to it, albeit slightly differently during the week. So I found that quite interesting. Again, check that out. It's the big interview with Graham Hunter, that it's called, although I'm doubting myself now. Yeah, the big interview with Graham Hunter. He also gave this analogy, Harry Kewell, of West End performers who put the hard work in during the week so that they know all of their lines for the big show at the weekend, and they can have a smile on their face and enjoy themselves. And I thought that was quite interesting as well. So, yeah, it seems like Harry Kewell is a pretty big presence at Celtic, more so than I kind of thought he would be. He really gives good answers, in-depth answers, almost, and he probably wouldn't thank me for saying this, like a mini Ange in many ways. The two are very aligned clearly in their thoughts, and I think just on the influence of Kewell, that's clearly something that Scott McDonald called at the start of the season. I don't know if he would he would have the guts to disagree with Ange, would he?
No, he will. Like to a respectful way. It won't be like that, but he'll push, he'll poke, he'll prod. That's just the way of the man. Like he's not going to not be himself, and that's what I like about H. You know, he's going to be himself, and you can see that already. And he's quite buoyant around the players, from what I've seen from the clips and the Celtic TV stuff at the moment. He'll have the banner, so he'll have a connection with the players, which is great.
Right, moving on, couple of B team bits of news, one good, one bad. The bad is Joey Dawson. We won't be seeing him until 2024. He picked up a serious knee injury a fortnight ago in a match against Cumbernauld Colts. He's taken to Instagram today to say operation was successful and now the recovery starts. Back on the pitch in 2024. He's had a cracking season. I think he's almost at Kyogo numbers in terms of goals he scored. So hopefully he gets back sooner rather than later, and we wish him all the best. The more positive news is that Mackenzie Carse has signed a new deal, keeping him at the club until the summer of 2025. The midfielder has been at Celtic since he was 12 years old and is also a Scotland under-19 international. What else? Oh, Liel Abada met Lewis Capaldi, which is kind of strange. He says, the best. It was nice to meet you. And we had Dyson Maida taken to Instagram. He shared this image of him with his kids, who are clearly very, very important to him, alongside the translated caption here saying, sorry to have caused any inconvenience. I'm disappointed that I couldn't show you my performance to everyone in Japan, but I'll do my best to get back to the team and perform well and return to the Japanese national team. Thank you for the support. So hopefully he's doing all right and can be back in the Celtic team as soon as possible. Clearly one of a number of players who there's wee question marks over fitness-wise at the moment. Hopefully we hear from Ange on Friday and get a positive update. So yeah, I'd say in general we're progressing all right. Things are heating up a bit. The international programme will round off tonight / tomorrow morning in Alistair Johnson's case, and we'll hear from Ange Postecoglou, as I say, on Friday. Friday's actually when our next video will be out as well, so take care between now and then. I'll also be on 67 Hail Hail tomorrow and Thursday. We've also got new writer Paddy on there too, so plenty of good stuff coming. I will catch you right here on Friday.